on this episode of The Match
You say
Query.
investing. When you say investing, do you mean investing in players, building new stadium, or investing in referees?
Let me paint a picture for you.
What do you mean investing in referees?
We saw how Barcelona invested, allegedly investing in referees back in the day. The Negreira case is still on. So as a big club, those kind of things are the kind of things that happen in La Liga, by the way. Because if you are thinking about what the things you are saying, without mentioning names, if anybody just listens to what we are saying and they didn't particularly know the club we're talking about, they will think it's one of the clubs from Nigerian Premier League, where people are home.
I'm telling you. Do you get?
You mean I
So
told my illusion?
go to the stats.
Exactly. And that has been the back and forth this season. So the question is Barcelona actually competing with Madrid, or are they just entertaining us? What are your thoughts?
So that question is very somehow.
They're so
entertaining
sweet.
us.
Welcome back to the Match Query, the show where football conversations go deeper than the headlines. Today we are looking at two football stories unfolding in very different worlds. La Liga's power balance, Barcelona look reborn, Real Madrid hanging in there, and once again the league seems to revolve around the same gravitational pull, the same two clubs with Atletico Madrid pulling up after them. And here is the real question: is this another two-horse race? Or is Spanish football entering a new phase where we should be expecting a lot of competition, a new dominance, new rebuilds? Then we switch to something completely different, but equally fascinating. So hang in there. Wrexam, a Hollywood project, a global documentary story, but also a football club standing on the edge of something English football has really never seen before. Can Wrexam actually become the fastest club to climb the English pyramid in modern history? Or are we watching a beautiful story that reality will eventually slow down? This is the Match Query. Let's get into it. So I'll start with you, Mr. Easy. What are your thoughts about the way the La Liga table is now? Let's start from there.
So I think it's the usual fashion, right? It's the usual fashion. I think it has been that for like maybe 5, 6, 7 years now, right? Where you have Madrid, same three people, Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. Then you have the other teams hustling for the remainder of the European places. You have Villarreal, Real Betis, and Celta Vigo. For the past maybe 6, 10 years, I think it has always been the top three. It's always been Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Barcelona. They alternate it mostly between Barcelona and Madrid, which is looking like it is right now, because as I'm looking at the table, I'm seeing that Barcelona has 64 points, Madrid has 63 points, and Atletico Madrid is already far behind in the horse race. It's 51 points. So I feel it's just going to be a two-horse race with 3 other people vying for 3, 4, 5. While the other like you have Celta Vigo, Espanyol, and Real Sociedad fight for the other European slots ready. So, but yeah, so I think it's a two-horse race.
When we say two-horse race, for neutrals, especially in the modern world that we are now, where people love competition, people love the story of the underdog. What are the implications of this for how popular La Liga is?
So the implications of that is it's a closed bit, right? So every year we already know this is going to be you can virtually say, the top 2 every single year. You won't get that in the Premier League, where you can have occasional rises and people surprises and stuff like that, which is good, because a lot of times the idea of spice makes sense, where you have, the unknown happens, or a team that you're not expecting to come up. But in La Liga, sometimes it feels like, especially for the top 3, that place feels very closed. Other ones can interchange, because I feel after the top 3, others, there's nobody that you can say, we'll finish 4th. A lot of times it can be Villarreal this year, it can be Real Betis next year, it can be Atletico Bilbao next year, it can be Celta de Vigo next year. So or Real Sociedad in this case. So it's always, what that can do is, a lot of times these teams already have the mindset, or the fans already have the mindset that, we're not fighting for the league, we're just fighting for a top 4 or top 5 place, basically. So, but I think it's one of the reasons why maybe there are brokers' rights and stuff like that, because like I said, I feel all of these things would affect like the ability for the league to get a lot of sponsors, because
Revenue.
why would they revenue and stuff like that? So I feel it's also part of the reasons why that, because even international Serie A, they used to switch. You have AC Milan this year, you have Inter next year. They swap those positions. La Liga for the past 5-10 years mostly is a 3-horse race. It looks like a 3-horse race. It looks like
To be very honest, as far back as I can remember, he has majorly been Real Madrid and Barcelona with
Barcelona.
sprinkle
Exactly.
bit of Atletico Madrid once in a while. And aside that, you never really hear of maybe Levante, becoming champions and doing that sustainably 3 years in a row, or in 10
How,
years.
how they want to do at least with Leicester finished first, and in other years, you can notice that they try to maintain a top. I think they even try to you could see consistency before they had the financial issues, and they scattered all of what they were planning. So you could see Leicester could maintain it, but I don't think even when Atletico Madrid finally do it, it just happens like once. I think it happened in 2013, and the last time it happened was maybe 2022. Because a lot of times they cannot maintain that. They can't maintain that momentum. So it's always a one-off. If it's not Madrid, if it's not Barcelona, it's a one-off most times.
Even
Now,
if another club breaks into that top 4 spots in La Liga, I think the most recent example we have is Girona. Girona has fallen off since then. Do not maintain that bite for like 2 seasons now. Yeah, so just how to use this point. It's not really
And you
that
are
easy
very
though.
right. Now, we will delve into the possible reasons for that at some point soon. But tactically speaking, if you look at the teams at the top of the table now, particularly the top 2, which of these teams actually looks more sustainable over a full season? And that's the top 2 and the people in 3rd, 4th, and 5th position. Which team has tactical identity? That's why I want you to comment on a stable tactical identity right now. And which one of them do you think would have enough depth to survive the Champions League, especially as we've progressed into the latter stages?
Okay. I won't say that is a easy question to just give an answer to. I feel it's a question that has an answer, but that answer can change invariably in coming seasons. Currently, right now, if you look at the last 3 seasons, Barcelona has won the title twice. Real Madrid has won it once, if I'm not mistaken. We can look to say that Barcelona right now has a more tactical identity than Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid are still finding their foot. They've gone from an Ancelotti pragmatic approach to what he had to a Xabi Alonso's approach that was around a 3-4-3 structure that could morph into a 4-3 system and the like. But that didn't last, and in 7 months he was gone, and now they are with Alvaro Arbeloa. So it seems like this season Real Madrid have just relied on their big stars, individual brilliance to deliver them games, whereas Barcelona have actually relied on a more structured system. Right? We know Flick here. They keep the eye line. They're able to create opposition, create issues for opponents. So it's from a paper view or from a tactical standpoint, Barcelona have looked like a more sustainable team in terms of the way they actually approach their games, either in the league or in the Champions League. They've had much more tactical discipline in approaching those games. When you even look at squad depth, on paper, you would say that Real Madrid should have a better squad depth. But the issue is Real Madrid actually also have a squad depth that has been bewildered with injury issues. I can't remember the last time I saw Alaba in a game since he was gotten as a free agent from Bayern Munich. Can't remember the last time I saw David Alaba play a game. You can actually also see Carvajal really has not played so much games this season. Even TA himself has been burdened by injury issues. Mbappe currently has injury woes, right? You can see that translate to various facets of their team. Various key people are missing within the season. They have the squad depth on paper, but injuries has really attacked that squad depth. But if we are dealing on a more sustainable structure around which team actually approaches the games with tactical discipline and structure, I will give that to Barcelona at the moment.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because, for a club of Real Madrid status, one would expect that there's a lot of structure in and around, especially their medical team, especially as their medical team, their nutrition team, and Xavi Alonso, you know where I'm driving at, have come into the news recently prior to his sack. How do you refer to them now? Old structures.
Socios.
socios in
Socios.
Madrid believe
Yeah.
that new things like what Xabi Alonso was trying to bring in shouldn't be the order of the day. And, it led to a lot of back and forth. You would expect that they shouldn't be this decimated with injuries this season. But again,
Mhm.
I think a lot of things are coming to the end of an era at Real Madrid. And that's including the president. They have a very fantastic president, but also I think Real Madrid should be at the point where they are preparing for life without him. But, well,
Yeah.
that brings us back to easy. Now, let me ask you this directly. Every time Barcelona start looking good again, Real Madrid somehow just find a way to slip back. And that has been the back and forth this season. So the question is Barcelona actually competing with Madrid, or are they just entertaining us? What are your thoughts?
So that question is very somehow.
They're so
entertaining
sweet.
us. So yeah. So I think just like as Bon said, Barcelona, it feels like Barcelona, yes, Barcelona are the ones with the tactical identity. They are the ones that have with Madrid has been sort of shaky. And I think one of Madrid's biggest issue this year is inconsistency. They are form. There's not been, so it's not like, oh, they don't win, we don't even know what to expect. Let's take the game yesterday with Vic Celta took he took a Valverde shot with a deflection to get the ball, like to get that win. And that if they had lost that particular match, it would have resulted in widening the gap, right, between them and Barcelona. So they have been very inconsistent. And so as I was going through the stats and I looked at and I noticed that with Madrid there's an issue. The issue is okay, so Madrid prefer to play teams that play the drag possession with them, right? So in a game where they don't, so they want you to play, we'll play, you play, that kind of thing. In those kind of games, Madrid do very well. Like, for example, the way they dispatched Real Sociedad and the way they dispatched Mallorca. Those kind of games where, okay, both of us are playing each other. But I noticed that the two games, especially this year, the two games that Madrid has lost this year, were games where Madrid had more than 75% ball possession.
Getafe.
Madrid had 79, I think Getafe, and had 81 against Osasuna.
So that means
And
those
they
teams
lost
are
both
sitting
games.
back and they are playing
Yes.
direct to
Just
Yes.
once you sacrifice your possession to them and give, Madrid don't know what to do with it, which is a different case for Barcelona. Barcelona has found a way to weaponize possession, right? What they do is they don't even give you breathing space. They don't commit fouls. Their fouls are they get the ball off you based on pressing. They attack with a certain, like, you could check the volume of the shots. Sometimes you check in and you see Barcelona have 20 shots, 10 on target in a match. So they have found a way to weaponize this bit. It's Barcelona, even with, yes, they suffer it with the low blocks too. But with Madrid, once you give them that amount of possession, Madrid don't know what to do with it. In that case, a lot of times they are susceptible to transitions, they are susceptible to counters, which these teams that sacrifice possession hope to do. So a lot of times it's that case. Another thing for Madrid is the fact that so with them it's inconsistent. With Barcelona, what Barcelona has going for them this season is their home form. They have played 13 at home, won all 13 matches, scored 41 goals. I don't think they've considered 10 goals at home. At home, they trash teams. Teams have no means of surviving at home. But away is where Barcelona has the tricky bit. They have only won, I think. Let me open the stats here. They have. So let me open the stats. Sorry, give me a minute.
So just to add to what Izzy was saying, right, especially for Barcelona, what Flick has done, and he's actually right to actually say that Barcelona have weaponized possession. Flick has set up his team here. One of the consequences of keeping that high line is territorial control. So they're able to control you at almost every territory on the pitch. There's a high press as well where they're able to recycle the ball. And even against teams where so for example now, take a Getafe now with the satanic around that they played against Real Madrid. Imagine a Getafe juxtaposed with playing a Real Madrid right now in that kind of game. What Flick would do is giving them possession is just a weapon for them, right? They're able to still bombard you with those weapons. And they have center backs that know how to give very good line breaking passes that pierce through those kind of low blocks. So in essence,
and I think that's the difference. That's one of the differences between Real Madrid and Barcelona. And it's because
Barcelona.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So there are so many people technically capable in Barcelona of line-breaking passes. They
Yeah.
have midfielders that are good off the ball. They are
And
off
they
the
have
ball
ball
good,
carriers as
and they have good ball.
wingers, people
Yeah.
that can drive to you.
Yes.
Sure.
And they are never actually scared of taking on their man, their man, their
Yes.
No,
wing,
they're not.
their wing forwards. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Also, when they lose possession in games they are controlling, they are usually quick to recycle, to collect the ball, recycle.
You collect
and
ball back. Yes. They
continue the
press
attack.
well.
They only seem to suffer when they face teams that are very, very good in transition. Teams that sit
Yes.
back, but very good in transition. As you saw in the first leg against you have seen
Atletico
it
Madrid.
against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Basic wingers, good transition, 2-3 balls, they are in your half. So they will struggle against teams like that. But I guess what I'm thinking about now, to come back to Easy, because I'd like him to comment on this as well. Because, we are talking about the implications of everything going on.
Okay.
You cannot talk about Barcelona without talking about their financial situation. Over the years, we've been talking about the fact
Never
that they
United.
are rebuilding. Are they still rebuilding like this? Or what exactly is going on? So you were
So
going to,
I think
but before you come to that, you were going to talk about the statistics that you wanted to talk about.
Okay. So let me bring the stats. So at home this season, they have won all 13 games, right? Scoring 41 goals, conceding 6, right? They average 3 goals in the home games. Why, like, goals conceded 0.46, right? All games away. But away is where the issue is. Away is where the issue is because they have scored 30 goals, right? Away, and they have conceded 20.
So what happens away? Is it a mentality thing? What's happening? Is it that they are tactically set up in a different way away from home?
So I think I feel they are actually set up a different way. At home, there's more confidence. Why are they having, for a team that has 13 wins at home, away you have 8 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses?
Because if you are thinking about what the things you are saying, without mentioning names, if anybody just listens to what we are saying and they didn't particularly know the club we were talking about, they will think it's one of the clubs from Nigerian Premier League, where, you tend to, people are
Where you win
home.
at home, I'm telling you. Do you get?
You win at home and you lose
So I'll
away.
go to the stats.
Exactly.
Is the average they concede at home away is 1.54. You are bound to score Barcelona at home away. At
least
home,
one.
At least one.
And that's a good one for Pontas. Pontas listening to us. That's a good one. We don't support, we are not encouraging gambling or anything, but, for Pontas and bookmakers, that's a good point if you look at it statistics wise.
So
almost a given
so
that
the fact
Barcelona is concede at least one goal.
So yeah. So considering like they are going into the very heated part of the season, the very critical part of the season, and they still have 6 away games. And these away games are against Atletico Bilbao, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid. Teams that
They have one today.
Exactly against Atletico
I
Bilbao.
think they're playing Athletic Bilbao today, yeah.
Yes, at St. Mames. So they have fixtures with opponents that they still have Osasuna. Osasuna at home this season, wonderful. Like, they are so good at home that they look like a proper Nigerian Premier League team. At home, everything goes. But away, the form is like this. So, which is because of this now, I feel is the reason why Madrid still looks like, they are giving Madrid an opportunity to claw back, right? Because while they win at home, their away form is not so good. So because of that, Madrid take the opportunity to come back. Sometimes it's like, it looks like Barcelona are going to win the race, and all of a sudden, in next thing you see, they start to drop a bit and want to Madrid. But one thing Barcelona have going for them is they don't take time so they take the defeat as a defeat, right? They don't, the next game, they forget about it and they move on straight away. Like, they go back to their normal, especially if it's a home game. 2 away games, yes, there will be issues. But a home game after an away game, they make sure that, that bit is done. So, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Your submissions are quite valid. And that brings us to Mr. Abba. Let's bring in the emotional football perspective. Which teams
Emotional
now
football
look more
perspective.
like champions when you watch them play, of the Spanish teams in the top 4 of the table? Which team would you rather face if you were a defender, for example? Which team would you rather face, and which team scares you more, especially in big games?
I think I would say Barcelona, emotionally and visually. Like, I'm totally not a fan of Barcelona, but I have to admit that there's a level of stability that they have that this season we've always wondered if Real Madrid have the same thing, right? So the problem is not that Real Madrid are not good. It's not that they can't win it. Remember, they are just 1 point behind Barcelona, albeit Barcelona has a game in hand. We've seen Barcelona also draw points in games we never expected them to. So, but when you look at emotionally, visually, the way Barcelona have carried themselves, the way they've not let themselves like sink away when it gets tough. We saw how they almost pulled the comeback against Atletico Madrid, a cup competition during the week. That's something about them that makes them visually look like the team that would win La Liga, right? But when you watch Real Madrid in big games, they don't look too dangerous, but somehow they seem to somehow get across the line. Somehow, right? Watching them even the last game they just played against Celta Vigo, you're wondering, would they draw or lose? And somehow they turn up with the 3 points. And they've had loads of injuries. They've had a lot of instability in the first team due to those injuries. Defensively, there are problems. You have defenders who can't seem to catch a break from injuries, but somehow they've made it look. So it's a tight call. It's a very tight call. But if you ask me, I would say Barcelona. And if I wanted to face a team right now, I would say as a defender, I would rather honestly take on the same Barcelona. This is because of their high line, right? This is because of the fact that if you play it right, even as a defender, if you recover, you really know what to do with the ball. That's one. Two, with Barcelona, you kind of like know what to expect. Real Madrid are far much more a chaos team in transition than Barcelona. With Barcelona, you really know what to expect. You're going to expect some real good crosses from either Lamine Yamal, Rafinha. You're also going to expect some take-ons during the game. You're going to expect them to try to find their number 9 within the box. You also expect some certain things from players like Fermin Lopez and a couple of other players. So while they are more predictable, they are just so good that people have found it difficult to stop them. Madrid, on the other hand, there is an air of unpredictability where sometimes they look lethargic and in a minute, boom, they light it all up. They have this individual brilliance. I'm not saying Barcelona do not have it, but they have this individual brilliance that has made it really, really difficult for you to define as a defender. You're not too sure what's going to happen. And but when it comes to big games like in the Champions League, obviously it's Real Madrid due to history. If we look at all the knockout stages right now, there are so many people who would take a look at Barcelona and really think that they have a shot. But when you take a look at Madrid, whether you call it referees, whatever you want to call it, there is this air that they just somehow use their pedigree to get results.
And, we've talked about different tactical ideologies across board between these two teams. I just want to ask you again, if the two teams continue with these ideologies, which one of them do you think will possibly win the league of the two teams?
Barcelona. There is something
Okay.
about
Why
having
do you think so?
Yeah, that's because there's something about having a very clear ideology. Real Madrid has this stop-start that even when they win games, it's not convincing. It's not really
Yeah, true.
convincing. You're not really sure sometimes they're even going to win games, right? And oftentimes this season, I'm not saying that's what really happened, but they've been accused of referees giving them unfair advantages. And there are some times I see some decisions and I go, ooh, okay, that's really suspicious, right? I think it was last weekend we saw Antonio Rudiger kicking out at a player who was on the floor. On the floor. On any normal day, that's a clean red card. And he wasn't booked for it. Didn't even get a yellow. Didn't even get a free kick for it, right? So when you see some of those decisions, you really go, okay, do people really have a point about referees and Real Madrid? But let's be fair, refereeing in La Liga hasn't covered itself in glory. So at the end of the day, what is dependable is what Barcelona can really produce due to the system, due to the tactical consistency they have. So that's dependable. You consistently know that Barcelona somehow are most likely going to score goals, especially in the league.
Makes sense. And that brings me to Bon. In all of these things, we've talked about, the tactical ideologies now. If both teams had a perfect season where they didn't have any injuries, do you still agree with Mr. Abada? Definitely it has to be Barcelona winning the league. If there was no injuries, it's not Real Madrid.
Yes, I actually would still agree with Barcelona still winning the league because Abba said clear ideology. Clear ideology is not just dependent on you not having injuries. It's based on the style of play that you actually also deploy. And yes, we can't discount the fact that it's possible that the stop starts that Real Madrid have shown in games this season could be due to the fact that they lack technical depth due to injuries, but then it actually also stems from the leadership and from the coaching structure being deployed, right? Whereas you have a Barcelona that have a stable structure in Flick and his line system and actually imposing territorial control, you cannot clearly point out what their identity in Real Madrid is right now. You get, there has been conspiracy theories that Alvaro Abalua is not really coaching the team. He's just coaching the individuals. Do you get? He's just coaching the individuals to just turn up, they get, and deliver him wins. And it looks that way because in most of the games they've won, you could say they won Celta Vigo last night because of Valverde's moment of individual brilliance. And even that individual brilliance was still helped by a deflection. Do you get, to make them actually win those games? Vinicius has actually shown forth in games where he has been individually brilliant as well. So even if Real Madrid had a full squad, they still lack technical identity, which comes from the fact that they don't really have a clear coaching structure or a clear coaching identity as well. Yet, even when Xabi Alonso was here, there was a pendulum switch in the way they were approaching games.
Yeah,
Do you
because he
get? There
kept
was
trying
also
to
the
implement
issue.
his ideas, and there was this
Do you
individuality that
get?
didn't let it flow.
You don't allow it flow. You get? There was the Vinicius and him issue. So even if they had a full squad with no injuries, Barcelona will still tip it because they've worked with Flick for a full year. They understand the system. They know where they all each have to be. They know the jobs they have to be to deliver the wins. And mind you, as Abba actually pointed as well, they actually also have individual brilliance. The only difference is that Barcelona know how to channel that individual brilliance to help the team's collective. That is the major difference. Lamine Yamal has been brilliant. If you check Lamine Yamal's
Exceptional. He's been exceptional.
goal and assist contribution year on year, he's having a year on year growth. Year on year growth. I'm not telling you it drops. It is increasing year on year. What is going to finish with at the end of this season will be greater than what is going to finish with last season. And it's a Rafinha. And mind you, Barcelona too have had injuries.
Exactly. Yeah.
They've actually had injuries. The only difference is that they've just known how to work in a system where whoever Flick brings into that system is going to still do the job. Yeah. So I still would tip Barcelona to win it even without any injuries to Real Madrid.
So are you saying that the home and away form, because like I pointed out, they also have a lot of away fixtures which they don't win convincingly. Don't you think there's a chance where Madrid uses their not convincing, and just get it over the line just because Barcelona have an issue playing away from home?
No, it's possible. Honestly, that's possible. Let's be honest about it. Nobody is discrediting the chance that Real Madrid can do something about it. We're only looking at who is more likely in this case. And we're saying Barcelona is for very obvious reasons, right? We're not saying Real Madrid don't stand a chance. They do. I mean, for God's sake, it's Real Madrid we're talking about. We know that. You and I know that. And whether you think it's referees, whether you think it's VAR, whether you think it's Perez or whatever, we know Real Madrid, with or without those sentiments, do get results, do get win trophies. And right now, the gap between them and Barcelona is not much. And like I said, when Barcelona do fail, most times, they feel like as a team, it's like the whole team didn't work on the day. Real Madrid collapse, it's more like because there are too many individuals within that 90 minutes on that particular day. It's more like it plays a bigger role. The quality of the individuals trying to play on their own plays a bigger role in causing Madrid problems than it ever will with Barcelona. Barcelona will just be that you actually truly beat them as a collective. You've beat the plan with them as a collective. And anybody knows that it is better to lose as a collective than to lose as individuals, because when you lose as individuals, it can easily create fractions and issues between players. But within the collective, you all look each other in the dressing room and you say, okay, we didn't do good. Tomorrow, we have a chance to change all of that.
And that brings in, there's a controversial part I'm going to bring up again. When you hear it, you know that, I think we've discussed it before. Mbappe. We can argue again that he has the numbers backing him. Individually, he's doing fantastically well. But this is a guy that when you watch Real Madrid play, they lose the ball, he's not tracking back. This is a guy who the top 3 clubs he's played now, especially the last 2, when he arrives at a club, that's when the drama starts happening around individual versus collective. That's when you start having rifts in the dressing room, factions, all of that. Is there something underlying all this that we are not seeing? That's my
Ojo, why
question.
are you asking this question too?
So
Why are you
who do
asking
you
this
want to go
question too?
first?
No, I don't. I want Ojo, who do you want to answer this question now?
I believe that anyone, who has an opinion on the matter I'm happy for you to speak. Because
Again,
if you think about it, yes,
if
you
I
can
may.
say numbers are with him, but
Mm-hmm.
why is this a recurrent decimal in the last two clubs for him?
All right. I think,
Okay.
in
Okay.
my opinion, I wouldn't say it's heavily consistent in Real Madrid, if you ask me. I clearly do think Real Madrid has a leadership problem. And, even when the whole issue with Benfica happened and Mbappe seemed to have Vinicius back and everything, I'll be honest with you, I felt that this wasn't really organic. It didn't feel like, it's kind of like what Nima had to say about the relationship with Messi back in PSG as well. So somehow, I wouldn't lie, Mbappe has a main man syndrome where he's like the star. But at Real Madrid, I do not think he's the only one with that problem. So it's difficult to just drop the whole load on him, in my opinion. I do think sometimes you have that air of that even around Jude Bellingham. You have the same thing around the so-called Vinicius we talk about. We know how petulant he becomes when he isn't the star of the show, where he isn't like the attention is not on him. In fact, Vinicius is happy if any kind of attention, not just the winning attention, is on him. Any type. He will take any type of attention as long as it's attention. Right? So I do think they have a leadership problem in the dressing room that makes it unfair for you to just drop it all on Mbappe. I mean, let's look at the Xabi Alonso Vinicius issue. Let's be honest about that. Let's look at some players who say, okay, I don't want to sacrifice for the team and play in certain positions that I'm not confident. It's not my real position. So these are things we've not heard of before in Real Madrid. We've had players sacrifice before in Real Madrid. And I do think it's not a coincidence that happened with when you had characters like Luka Modric, you had characters like Toni Kroos, even Karim Benzema on the team. We know how
Sergio
much
Ramos.
Sergio Ramos, good. We know how much Karim Benzema sacrificed when Cristiano Ronaldo was at Real Madrid. Let's be honest, right? So we don't have that in Real Madrid right now, and it's not fair to place it all on Mbappe. And I do think PSG is not the right example to use because up until Luis Enrique came into PSG, PSG always had that air of individualism among the biggest players in the club. I think one of the best person who tried to put them together is Marquinhos, right? Other than
and
that,
I mean, with what you've said now, one of the things I always think of as well is that video you mentioned about Enrique talking to Mbappe. If you recall the things he was talking to Mbappe about, they were very, very important things. And that leads me to the next question to Izzy and yourself. If Bon has an opinion too, I would love to hear it. Is Mbappe not a leadership material at Real Madrid?
I don't think so personally. For his character, I don't think so. He's that type of person, right? I really don't think so. Maybe
that is the current France national team captain.
Yes, but I think now that's why I'm speaking to him as an individual. I'm very conscious of the fact that he's the French national team captain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that era of. There are things about captains. I mean, we've seen that over the years. There are things about captains. We don't even have that as much, I think, across the board now, probably because of the new generation of footballers we have. But I would be honest, if you take out Mbappe, who looks like captain material in Real Madrid? I think that's the bigger question we need to ask. Who really does? It's a very good question to ask. Who looks like captain material? Is it petulant Vinicius? Is it irrational Rudiger? Is it look around the pitch. Let's be fair.
Maybe the keeper. Thibaut Courtois.
Courtois is not really very...
Courtois has a history of character issues at all his clubs, including the national team. So, I mean, he crosses my mind, but I think, nah, not that guy.
Yeah, you're right. And, that brings us to Izzy. If anyone is actually capable of breaking into the duopoly in the next 5 years in La Liga, which club do you actually think will do that?
Nobody has broken in now. We never break it.
I mean, there have been times when people actually broke into the duopoly, at least, give us 1 or 2 years of something different. But your thoughts, Izzy?
That Duopoly, it go hard though. Go hard because you know why it will be hard? those teams will have to invest, and I don't think La Liga has that monetary capability right now. The finances they are being very stringent with their finances. For you
I
to be
agree.
able to break into that duopoly, you would have to invest, and I don't think those clubs, the big clubs are solving it, not talking about the less clubs. So for you to break through that duopoly, you will have to invest, and I don't think they can do that. So because of that, I think it's going to be a duopoly whenever that finances thing
Do you think
gets
Atletico
sorted
When you
out.
Madrid
say
can
when
come
you say
in? Do you think Atletico Madrid can come in for 1 or 2 years? Is there any chance of that
hmm,
happening for Atletico Madrid?
when you say investing, do you mean investing in players, building new stadium, or investing in referees?
Let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a
What
picture
do you
for
mean
you.
investing in referees?
We saw how Barcelona allegedly investing in referees back in the day. The Negreira case is still on. So as a big club, those kind of things are the kind of things that happen in La Liga, by the way.
I'm
Ojo said
surprised Izzy is
investing
so
in
quiet and calm.
referees. So let me actually paint a picture here, and I will use Sevilla as an example. Sevilla, when it comes to European pedigree, you actually will put Sevilla as one of the club that has very great European pedigree. When it comes especially to the Europa League, I don't think any other club has won it more than Sevilla. If you check, they've won it the most, right? But for the past 3 seasons, if you can even check where they currently are, I think last season they almost survived relegation. Check where they are currently this season. They are not close to the European positions, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the current league
They
table.
are currently
Okay,
13th in the league.
they are currently 13th. Do you get? Now look at Valencia. Valencia are currently 15th. Now these are two teams that before this whole financial stringency came in, they were always in that fifth to sixth. At least you'll be seeing Valencia, Sevilla, Villarreal. I think it's only Villarreal had that same issue last season, but they've kind of bounced back this season where they're currently
I think
fourth.
even for a couple of years, there have been times Villarreal have been up and down, up and down, up and
Yeah,
down.
they've been up and down. So when you look at the candidates to break into the duopoly, last week we touched around the English Premier League and the fractured elite. You can pinpoint like 3 to 4 clubs that you can see a season make into the top 6, like break into the top 6. We've seen it happen 3 years already in the English Premier League. But with the Spanish La Liga, and it made a vital point. You can't pinpoint any club. Like, for example, now, Celta Vigo will likely make European Conference League with the current
When you
standings
say
in the La
any
Liga.
club, do you also include Atletico Madrid that they have no chance
So I'm not
whatsoever?
so let me tell you, I will tell you why I'm not including Atletico Madrid, right? No, they can break in, they've broken. But let us look at the factor of consistent breaking in. That can happen once
Atletico is
every
forever
5 to
third.
6
They're a
years.
forever third
Do
team.
you get? Like the breaking in will happen in the years where Barcelona and Real Madrid are proper trash. Like they don't do anything. You would then say Atletico Madrid breaking. But would you say you see a Barcelona, Real Madrid may be trash next season, but do you see Barcelona being trash next season with the way they currently are structured? No.
Don't even
That's
see
where
Real Madrid
Atletico
being
Madrid is
trash
for
enough
me.
not to be second. I mean,
Thank you very much.
we are looking at them having they are second currently, and the gap between them and Atletico Madrid is about 12 points, if I remember correctly.
12 points, actually, 12 points.
Is it 12 or 13? I can't
So
remember.
it's 12. It's 12. So as he said, Atletico Madrid look like a forever third team at the moment. It's just what it is. It's just
So
what
kind
it
of
is.
like best of the rest
But
kind of thing.
the funny thing, do you know the funny thing that actually muzzles me a lot? With the way the whole financial thing is in La Liga, almost like at least let me say 6 to 7 La Liga clubs are currently building stadiums.
Yeah, that is because they are really trying to like do something
They are
about the
currently
finance.
building stadiums.
If you check the trend of finance in
Yeah.
La Liga over the last 5, 6, 7 years, you
Mhm.
literally, we talked about, I think it was Easy who pointed out Girona, what happened with them over the last 3 seasons or thereabout after a
Yeah.
successful campaign. When you don't have a bigger stadium to make much more money, the chances
Yeah.
of you sustaining any kind of success in La Liga is close to zero. Right now, these clubs are saying stadiums is the only place we can get money. That's the only way we can
Mhm.
increase our revenue. And so many of them have reduced their budgets for player transfers, taking that money and they're trying to invest in expanding or rebuilding stadiums or building new ones. You really can't blame them because right now, I can tell you, outside the top 3 teams in La Liga, almost any other team can get relegated. That's what we've seen in the last couple of years. We're talking about Valencia. Valencia was a top team in the early 2000s in the Champions League, consistently getting to quarterfinals, sometimes
They won the league in
semifinals, right?
2003.
They
They won the
we
league in
had
2003, sef, under Rafael
2006.
Benitez.
Thank you. We all grew up getting to learn Villarreal as a yellow submarines. They had their time in the sun.
Yeah.
What has happened? These teams now are sometimes go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games without a victory, which tells us something. Anybody outside the top 3 can get relegated on a bad year. So these clubs have accepted that there is a lot of work to do to close the gap financially. And the TV rights is not getting any better in La Liga. Let's be honest. It's not getting any better. The model is bad, right? I had this worry 2 years ago that I hope they will not go down the way French Football League went with TV rights. They need to be very careful about it. So these clubs are saying, we may not have the money right now, but let's build stadiums, let's expand so that we can get in the long run a little bit more money. Not because they think that money is going to make them disrupt the top 2, but it will give them more
it helps them
stability away from being
Yeah.
constantly available for relegation year in, year out.
Yeah. I actually agree with you. Because actually validates your points. Because when I looked at it, I was like, why are some of these teams, like you can see a Real Betis? I think Real Betis are currently not even playing in their own stadium. Villarreal and Valencia have stadium, and I think a couple of other clubs, right, are trying to. And I think
Levante are
one of the
currently
reasons,
19th in the league. Levante is 19th in the league. There was a time when
Levante is 19th in the league.
Levante was a consistent mid-table team. Right now,
But
you
they
go and check
likely
they would get relegated. They would get
Mallorca
relegated.
18.
Yeah.
18
So what of if they are building stadiums because they want to go the Barcelona way, where in case they get broke, they start doing weddings and all of that shit to generate more income.
It sounds funny, but it is the truth. The truth is that most of these clubs are also they are businesses. They are not also, they are actually businesses. And
whatever
in
they have to
business,
do to make money at this point, Barcelona has told
you
us
have to
there
have
is no
assets.
shame.
For you to
There
be
is no
sustainable,
shame
you
in
have to have assets, sustainable assets for you to be sustainable. And that means even if they don't even have the money or they are not generating more now, they can get credit facilities that can enable them to build these assets, to get these assets, to invest in these assets.
And that would translate to having more money to prevent them from being relegation candidates every year.
Exactly. And also foreign investors are finding their way into football generally everywhere. Well, we've talked about the 2 major institutions in Spain, and we are now moving to the most unlikely stories in English football. You know, when Wrexham just started, they just started as this feel-good documentary story. It looks like things are now gathering pace. Things are getting a lot more serious. You know, they've had promotion after promotion, they've had investment, they've had global attention. They are like a fairy story now. And it is not now a matter of can they climb. The question is, how far can they go? That's what everyone is asking now. So do you think, in your opinion, this is a general question, do you think this is just a romantic football story? Or has this now become a serious competitive project?
So the thing is, as someone, I will tell you for free, I've watched Welcome to Wrexham. I think I've watched 2 to 3 seasons, to see, because the thing about Welcome to Wrexham is that Welcome to Wrexham wasn't just a documentary, it kind of details all what they've done, like how McKenney and Ryan Reynolds, what they've poured into that club. When they started, it may feel that way. It felt like probably they were just a documentary story, but you don't have 3 consecutive promotions without structure. No matter how you want to paint it, it's not Hollywood that is playing the game on the pitch. You need structure to come and play those games, and you can't do 3 consecutive promotions, and you are currently on the precipice of getting a 4th straight, which would actually become an English football record if they actually pull it off. So yeah, it's not really a documentary story. Now it actually looks like this is actually playing pure competitive football. They've just in a way structured their revenue to their spending to competition. They've just created a funnel in which it now clicks and it works. When we get deeper into the topic, we'll talk about these things. But from my perspective, they're not a competitive team. If you even look at the profile of the coach they currently have had for the past 4 seasons in Phil Parkinson, before even Wrexham, Phil had promoted other teams. I think in one he did like double promotion self. One of the things that Wrexham have done is that like for example, when they were in the National League, they were spending with the mindset of a League Two team. When they were in the League Two, they were spending with the mindset of a League One team. When they were in the League One, they were spending with the mindset of a Championship team. Is how they've structured their clubs and stuff. Yeah. So I feel they are now a thorough competitive project at the moment.
Yeah, but that will no longer be possible at this particular stage because the financial regulations at the Championship, at the Premier League, are different. So the way they spent before is going to be under closer regulations and it's going to be monitored.
In the Championship,
even
now
better.
that is the funny thing. They are the most financially safe team in the Championship.
Yes, that is because of what they've built over the previous leagues. But what I'm trying to say is moving forward, depending on all those the revenue streams that they have to rely on from doing branding and all those media stunts they've done, it's a little bit different with how it's going to be financially included in the financial structure in the Championship and in the Premier League. All of that is calculated differently compared to when you're in the lower leagues. The lower leagues are given bigger leverages because they have lower incomes, like way low. So the leverage is usually different. That is why when teams fall into those lower leagues, they struggle to bounce back because the leverage is not what they are used to at the bigger leagues. It makes you so. But I just wanted to say that
but
short term.
But what I'm saying is currently they're in the Championship, right?
Yeah.
And the financial regulation of the Championship apply to them. I'm saying currently in the Championship, Wrexham is the most financially prudent team.
Yes, and I
They've
think
generated the more
you're not getting
commercial.
my point. You're not getting my point. The strategy that has gotten them there is slightly different in the long term. It's going to be regulated slightly different from how it got them there. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Short term.
I think what's happening, if I may come in, what's happening is that Wrexham have found, business, in the layman term is incomings versus outgoings. And that's what determines whether you are financially sustainable, whether you are financially safe. Wrexham has found a way that no other team in English football is really doing. That Hollywood style, making it a global thing. They are having documentaries. How many championship teams are actually doing that?
Now, here's what I'm saying.
How many championship
No,
teams?
I think
there's something
there's something we do not know. No, there's something we need to know. This branding, the documentary and all of that they did in the lower leagues, all that cash is brought in. The PSR, the C, and all of that regulates how much of that money will be put in yearly. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to tell you now.
I get what you are saying.
They can't just lump that sum in. That's why I say in the short term, it has given them that stability coming into the Championship. All of that branding will not be allowed in under the current regulations. You can check, you can do your research and check. You cannot lump all of that money in. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Works rather slightly. I stand corrected, but I think the PSR works rather slightly. You have to weigh revenue, income against outgoing.
All that is revenue. All that commercial stuff is revenue.
All of what they are doing is revenue. It's just that they have found a way to increase their revenue compared to the status of the club. Because Wrexham is just a club somewhere in Wales.
That is revenue. But how much have the owners themselves put into the club?
They've actually cleared out their debts, actually. So this is the thing, Abba. One of the things that the Wrexham documentary has done for them is not give them cash in terms of revenue from the documentary itself. What it has done, it has indirectly increased revenue from the sources that a club should generate revenue from. Example, merchandising. The global merchandising is the best in the Championship, right? They have the greatest reach.
So
in other, like for example, now you probably will not see a QPR in Northern America, in the United States, with the kind of reach that Wrexham currently has, right? They've had sponsors that have been, because of the branding that documentary gives them, because it gives them visibility. Imagine you are in a documentary for 4 seasons, and you're always being mentioned United Airlines. They generate the most revenue from sponsorships, merchandising. I will not say match day ticket because I don't think they have a stadium in capacity to most of the big guys in the Championship. But they've had indirect revenue streams from that documentary, not generally direct revenue from the documentary itself. That just in a way help them increase revenue from other sources clubs should get revenue from and is accounted for in PSR.
Let's paint that in a full picture. That revenue that they generated through all those streams can back the squad and the cost of being in the League One, League Two. the cost of being in the championship is way bigger. Short term, that puts them in a good position. When you start racking up the expenditures long term, that doesn't generate enough fund. I don't know if you understand what I'm telling you. Given the
So
stadium
what you are saying
infrastructures
is that
and
in the
all of that.
long term, they will
In
have
the
to
long term,
review
there is still a
strategy.
risk. Yeah, there is still a risk. They are not out of the woods yet. That's what I'm trying to say, right? I'm not saying they are poorly run or they've lost anything. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying short term, they're in a fantastic position. Long term, that position is going to be tested seriously due to the rules. So when you check how much those documentaries and everything brought in, and you compare to what it costs to be in the championship, that's entirely different. So of course, the cost spending and everything is going to go up year in, year out.
I think
And
you're
these
right.
are the
One
things
thing I'm
that
going
I'm
to
trying
actually
to
add
point
is
out.
that while I get Abba's point, we need to actually now dissect what the cost to be in the championship is. One of the major costs to be in the championship is your wage bill. Like your
Mhm.
wage bill is like one of your major costs to be in the championship.
Mhm.
Other ways of commercially running your stadium is the same way you probably will commercially run your stadium, even if you're the League 1 or the League 2. But because of, you need to have a kind of quality to compete with the big dogs in the higher leagues, you have to have
Mhm.
a much more robust team. So your wage bill is one of your direct influences. The thing is that if you now look at the wage bill structure, Wrexham
Yeah.
have the 11th largest wage bill in the championship.
Okay.
Like 11th. Yeah, they have the
Mhm.
11th largest wage bill in the championship. And when you look at the list of clubs that have the first three, Chichester currently in the relegation zone.
Mhm.
Southampton, they are currently 7th. Sheffield
Mhm.
United is currently 13th. But Wrexham with the 11th largest wage bill is currently 6th position. I think
Good.
what Wrexham have done, what they've done, and it actually also trickles to Abba's point, is they have found a way of sustainably getting players. Their recruitment has actually also been top-notch because guess what? Their goalkeeper they've had for 2 seasons, they got him from Arsenal, Otto Konkwo. They've actually also gone to getting players at various facets to help guide them for promotion. Mind you, Cody, I've forgotten his full name, but he was the Leicester captain. They got him for 1 season on a free agent. They currently also got Nathan Broadhead from Ipswich. It was a record signing at £7.5 million. 7.5 record signing. And he has been instrumental to their season. They got Kiefer Moore from Sheffield United, Phil Parkinson, and have been able to do that. They've smartly recruited. That's just a summary.
My point
So
is,
whatever they are
Their
doing is
standard.
working
we're making this financial conclusions over there. They've not even concluded the first season in the championship. It's dangerous. I'm not saying the club is poorly run, but there is a reason the Athletic, the BBC, and even Sky Sports has described the championship because I saw this quote a couple of days when we were talking about this topic off the screen. They described it as the most dangerously financial league probably in the world, the championship. It explains why clubs can one moment be coming from the EPL and the next moment they're in relegation. It explains why clubs like Portsmouth sank and sank and sank and sank and sank. We have clubs who have gone through those phases because the way finances work in the championship is kind of like yo-yo. We talked about it in some episodes in the past where we talk about how they try to cushion finances. The league has constantly tried to find a way to help clubs once don't over-eject money and don't run into run down the finances of the club. All this, they've been trying to create balance. That's how volatile the championship is with finances. And some of them has attributed it to the fact that sometimes some clubs overinvest to try and get to the Premier League, and it always backfires.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is the
Yeah.
reason. What I'm saying is the money Wrexham have pulled in since Ryan Reynolds and his partner Rob came in the last couple of seasons. The money coming in commercially needs to be watched to how much you are going to actually spend to sustain. We're not even talking about the Premier League yet, to sustain your presence in the championship. Because the longer you stay, the more financially intensive it's going to be. Is that income going to have the capacity to sustain it? That's what I'm saying.
Let's not forget that being able to gain promotion to the Premier League also comes with its own financial gain.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's why I said we've not even
it
talked about the
also
Premier
makes the
League first.
club a lot more marketable. Whatever they've done so far, I understand what you're saying, that we've only seen it for a few years. So we don't know yet until they are subjected
In the
to the test.
championship, we've only seen it for about 10 months.
No. So what Abba is saying is that while they've done it well, we've only seen that performance in the championship for a very short period of time.
And we've not seen it in the Premier League.
We've not seen it
where
even in the
costs
championship because we don't know
where
if they'll get
costs will
promoted.
actually rack up, where costs would actually
but
rack up
again,
differently from in the League One.
but
The
again,
cost
time will
racks up
tell.
entirely different.
Time will tell. Time will
Yeah,
tell. We
obviously it
can.
will. That's
we-
what I'm saying. They have to be. No, I think you've kind of forgotten where we are coming from with the argument. My point is, all the branding documentary brings a certain amount of money into the club that may
Mhm.
not sustainably cancel out the cost of being in the championship. So they need to look into other avenues, right? Because the stadium is small. They really need to look into other things. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I guess my question from here is, do you think this is a model other small clubs should copy? This Hollywood ownership in football. Do you think it's something sustainable for
Well, it's
other small clubs?
But if you look at it, okay, if
So
you
I
look
think
I
at
wanted
it,
it to
Hollywood,
jump in. Yeah.
Easy. You were going to say, what do you think about celebrity investment trends?
because I think it's like I said, the Wrexham model is a very successful model. It's looking like a very successful. And I think in the news, it was in the news recently that KSI just got another club, I think Dagenham and Reds from National League 2 in a bid to try to replicate it. So far, it's looking like a success.
Dagenham and
So
Red
I
Bridge.
feel there's going to, and Red Bridge. So I think it's going to be, there are going to be a lot of it going on. Yes, at first, these people might not like it in the sense that, because it's just like the way when Roman Abramovich came into Chelsea and they had to. At first, people might not like it. They feel, this is a money club. Even when they get to the Premier League, they might still be looked at as a money investment. This beat, it didn't happen naturally. I think so far it has been successful. There will be a lot of clubs replicating the same way.
Let me
Clubs
give
in the
you
lower
let
leagues.
me let me give you no let me actually give you an insight into this too because Ojo raised a very valid point. More people replicate this model. So I'm going to point out a couple of scenarios where not just clubs in the lower leagues, not just even clubs in the lower leagues. Currently, Bournemouth ownership group is made up of Michael B. Jordan. He owns a minority stake. He's part of the minority ownership in current Bournemouth, Michael B. Jordan, right? If you look at Ipswich, Ed Sheeran owns a minority stake at Ipswich. At Leeds United, Michael Phelps, Will Ferrell, Jordan Spieth, they own minority stakes in Leeds United. Snoop Dogg just bought minority stakes in Swansea. You get, even ASAP Rocky is trying to take off, is part of an ownership group that wants to take over Tranmere Rovers. KSI, of course, as he said, just got in. You are seeing, and I even forgot, Birmingham City, who you could say they're actually the Hollywood rivals to Wrexham because they were going toe-to-toe. One of their minority owners is the popular Tom Brady. Burnley currently, one of their minority owners is JJ White. So what Ryan Reynolds and Rob did was they've given a lot of celebrity ownerships inroads to say, look, sports is actually a very lucrative business if done properly. One of the most lucrative businesses in the world. In fact, football, English Premier League football is very lucrative. If you compare look, you even hear about the championship. Which other Division 2 leagues do you hear like the championship in the world? Do you hear about La Liga 2? You don't. But the way you hear about the championship, especially now that the EFL has said from next season, the playoff will now be done, will now be 16th. Why did they do that? They want to increase the pot. They want to increase how much you win. Imagine the winner of the playoff. I think me and Abba were discussing this one day where the winner of the playoff will coup like 170 million, 170 or 150 million pounds.
Which gets paid out
Wrexham,
across 3 years.
it's a lot of money. And Abba's point is quite valid. It can be dangerous for you to not create a sustainable model and remain in the championship. That is one
We've
thing I
said
think has
some
actually
clubs who gain
affected
promotion to
Leicester
the
City.
Premier League use that money as excuses to even become worse clubs.
Leicester
Those
City can be
playoffs
an
money.
example of that, to be fair.
So
Leicester City
here's
could
what
be because they are currently at the brink of relegation to League One, which would be devastating.
Good. So I think the model is good to attract money. But here's what I want to tell you. Wrexham's turnover last year, because I just had to pull up the data so that you understand the picture I'm trying to paint. Wrexham turnover totally from everything was a profit of 26 points. When you are coming from the League One to the Championship, that is an astronomical turnover. It is mad turnover. that can change you to the point of clearing all your debts and everything. When you put that same amount in the context of being, for the sake of this discussion, a top 10 championship club, you know what that does to that profit. It doesn't make it as huge as it would be. It's a record turnover for a club coming from League One. I don't know if it's a record for League One, let me not say that, but for the club, for the history of Wrexham, it was a record turnover. But when you put that in the context of being a top 10 championship club, if you take that into next season, you're already going to be limited with how much you can spend due to regulations. Do you now get what I'm talking about, right? Now, the documentary pulled in a total of about 2.6 or 2.7 million pounds in its first year. What really has sustained Wrexham's money from that documentary has been the fact that they've been able to grow their social media sustainability from 70,000 followers to 3 million followers, right? Most of those followers due to the personality of the stars that took over the club. They've also been able to get partnership from, I think, TikTok, correct? And a few other merchandise sales that they've brought in. All of this together got them this massive growth last season. That's why I'm saying you need to know how you can use this growth and sustain it with expenditure in the championship. And hopefully we get to see them in the Premier League. I mean, they're playing my club today. So you need to see all of that play out. And then we really know how good the model is at this level. Remember, I'm not saying it's bad. And a lot of it is down to also how the club manages finances. A good model can be bad in the wrong hands. There are clubs who have taken good formats and sunk it, right? So when we say it's a good model because the right hands are making it succeed. Some people can take this and use their experience in the Premier League and in the Championship and turn it into total and complete garbage, because some of them pay some of the biggest executives that have been in the Premier League and in the Championship, and they are still in relegation.
Okay. And well, the next thing I wanted to also ask about Wrexham, that was just, to lighten everything, but how far do you see them going? And this is to you easy. Does this whole fairy tale thing just end in Championship? Are they just going to be a Championship team? Or do you see them gaining promotion to the Premier League? And if they do, how far do you see them stretching it? And I'm asking this because, we've had fairy stories in the past. Nottingham Forest under Brian McLeod. We've had Leicester City coming to the Premier League and then, defying all odds to win the Premier League. How far do you see Wrexham going? Do you think they are going to be in the mold of Nottingham Forest, of the old? What do you think?
So I think somehow it will be very good if they do, because I think I like the fact that they're in that playoff bit, because apparently the person that wins the playoff gets more money than the winner of the champion. Is more money for them if they win the playoff. So yeah, I think I'm happy that they're that playoff bit. So I think they can, because last time I checked, I think they are on 57 points. They are 4 behind. I think their closest rival at the one that's at
Hull
7th.
City. They are
So
3
I
points
think they
behind
can
Hull
make the playoff.
and 4 points above Southampton.
So I think they can make the playoff. And I think we know what to the playoff doesn't favor the ones that are second, that are third or fourth. Most times the people that win the playoffs are the ones that just sneak in those 5th, 6th teams. Exactly. Those ones that sneak. So I think it will favor. I want it because I love fairy tale stories. It's a very beautiful story from National League and one straight to the Premiership. Would they be able to sustain to the Premiership? So I feel the first bit is to avoid relegation. If they can do that, they can grow from there. It's be a very it's going to be a Herculean task. They might just drop in as fast as they can.
You mentioned something that I'm not sure, but also I stand corrected. I don't think the playoff winner takes home more money than the championship winner. They usually call that championship playoff final, the richest game in football. I think it's just a moniker, and it is not because of how much they earn immediately by just winning the championship playoff final. I think it's because of the potential earnings that they will get just by winning that game, because just by winning that one game, you get promotion into Premier League. And that promotion to Premier League means you get parachute payments, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Then you get potential TV rights money that, you get. Then, that promotion, once you've been promoted, the parachute payment, even if you get relegated the next season, there's how much you will get over 3 years.
But it drops.
That's why
the total amount you are eligible to get drops if you get relegated.
So I don't think that's the case. So I think the prize money for the prize money for the playoff final is bigger than even the Champions League. Last time I
think you should verify that. but I think you should verify because the championship winner usually gets like around 11 million pounds for winning the championship itself. That's the championship winner. But they also
The
get
playoff.
the same amount.
Okay.
They also get the same amount that someone who wins the playoff final will get when they get into Premiership just for that promotion. So I don't know, but this is up for verification. I don't think because you win playoff, you then
Let me
particularly
check that.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, you just a point, Sha. So the total value ascribed to the playoff final is not from
So
like the money you get that day. You probably not get
you know
any money.
you
It's
won't
just the
get it now. With
total.
they say the playoff finals is the biggest because it's also subject to what you will get out of the TV right, and that's why I told you
Yeah.
if you immediately get relegated, the value drops. Now the winner of the playoff, it's a range. Last year was range between 170 million pounds to 250. And that is performance
yes,
dependent. 250 or 260, I can't remember the exact number. 250, 260, thereabout. That is dependent on you, where you finish in the league. It impacts how much of the TV rights you can get. It impacts some of the merchandise and profits you're going to make. If you get relegated, that will drop drastically. Yeah, that's why they say about 170 to 250. So the higher you go, the better it gets. And it's subject to a lot of factors over a 3-year period.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
as for
exactly.
money, the take home money from the league itself, the winner of the league will get more.
Yeah.
Right. And, again, it's history. History is meant to be made. That's the truth. But again, we've talked about, how the celebrity investment trend in football is now going. Well, I also wanted to ask a question. This is just a quick fire. Where do you think Wrexham will be in 5 years?
In the championship.
Easy. What do you think?
I think they're going to be in the
Championship.
league.
Right.
In the next 5 years, they would either be coming from the championship into the league or going from the league into the championship, somewhere in the middle.
I think they're going to be in the league in next 5 years.
A regular Premier League team in the next 5
somehow
years.
believe in that project. I don't know why, but I believe they would be in the championship. They might not get it this year. They might not get the promotion this year, but I feel next year they'll get
Easy.
the
You
promotion.
better
And
start
they
applying as brand ambassador for Wrexham in Nigeria. Really, you are really pushing. In fact, I don't think many people support them.
No,
kind of
like I
way.
said, I love a very good fairy tale, and like I said, the project looks very good. So I feel they will be able to sustain it if they don't get carried away. So a lot of times is what happens is they overestimate their potentials, and that can be very crazy. So if they set very sustainable goals, okay, so this year we're going to have relegation. This year we are going to be mid-place table team. They find a way to balance that bit on and put the effort into it. I feel there will be a premier. Like I said, Villarreal is one person that I've never, I don't think their owner is very good at making businesses, making things that normally will not do well. But so yeah, I think in the next 5 years they'll be in the Premier.
Okay, and if
there are
you were
teams that
to
have
pick,
come and never left again, like Bob.
So I wanted to put this out there for our listeners on the topic about the championship money. So I want to just read out some stats and facts. 2017, Fulham, who got promoted, earned 117 million over the next 3 years. That was because of where they finished in the Premier League. Aston Villa, who got promoted in 2018, 2019, have actually got the full 290 million pounds because of their performance in the league. Fulham, again, after going and coming back in 2019-2020, only got 170. Brentford got the full 290 because of the performance. I think probably a top 10 finish. Nottingham Forest, who also backed the top 10 finish, are in for getting the full 290. And that they happened in 2021-2022 season. Luton, that followed them in 2022-2023, 170 as at last year, which goes for the three this year, which goes for the trade. That is because they are back, of course, in the lower leagues and everything. So that's how it works. It's not fixed. It's spread over a 3-year period and it's performance based.
And if you were to pick one between the story of Wrexham and Leicester City's story, which one do you think is more beautiful?
So Leicester City's story is a story of winning the league. It's of course as an underdog winning the league, and it was just one season. Ever since then, it's just been a slippery slope. Sam, I would say that people should be wary about how high you put a team right? Because the higher you put a team, the harder they fall if they make a slip. So Wrexham Story has been quite beautiful because, come on, from National League, if Phil Parkinson's gets them promoted to the English Premier League, like what I like a lot about the story is the vision of the people that bought them. It was their vision. They said, we want to get to the Premier League in 5 years. That was their goal. It looked like it was absurd, but they've done to the championship already. They are at a position of getting promoted to the English Premier League. As Izzy has rightly pointed out, you finish sixth does not mean you cannot make it. Sunderland is a prime example. I think they finished fifth or so. They won the playoffs. Yet the playoff is a different dogfight. So I would say Wrexham Story is pretty much very beautiful, especially for the sheer weight of where they came from, and the fact that they were doing it every season. They were not doing it every 2 seasons, every season. So nationally, I was like, sustain your stay in the championship, become a championship team, sustain that stay there. Because what it does for you is that if Wrexham stays in the championship for like 2 seasons, they create a structure that even if they get to the Premier League and they get relegated, they can still sustain themselves in the championship. Yeah, that is why I'm saying I'm very careful of the pedestal you can put them. They could go to the Premier League and get engulfed with, oh, we now need to be like a Premier League team, spend a truckload of money, and when they come back to the championship, they fall back to the League One. It can happen easily. So that's for me. But I would take the Wrexham Story. It's really been a joy to see. Yeah, it's really been a joy to see.
Well, again, football always gives us battling for control in Spain, the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid, and then the unexpected stories that remind us why the sport still feels magical, like Wrexham. One story is about power and legacy, the other is about possibility. And sometimes football's beauty is that both stories can coexist at the same time. This has been the Match Query. If you enjoyed the conversation, share the episode, drop your thoughts in the comment section. Give us likes, let us know. Barcelona or Madrid, or how far can Wrexham go? We'll see you next episode.